following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I am privileged to be here with Jerry Feitelberg on the maiden edition of Bay Area Sports, where we try to combine the A's, college baseball, the Giants, 49ers, what would have been the Raiders in the Bay Area, a little hockey. We're going to talk about everything. And, Jerry, you're going to be one of the co-hosts. I will join you. We're going to have Michael Duca join us. And we're going to keep Nancy Finley. She's the gal. And it's going to be fun. What do you think?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the new baseball season. The A's were to play their first spring training game today. Unfortunately, it got rained out in the Phoenix area. So tomorrow the A's will be playing the Mariners up in Peoria. And they're getting ready to go off to Japan. They open the season against the Mariners for 2 games in Japan on March 21st and 22nd. Then they fly back and open the season against the Angels on March 28th, Thursday, March 28th. They have a 4-game set with the Angels. And then the world champion Boston Red Sox come in for 4 on April 1st, April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It's the only trip in for the Red Sox, and I hope that the fans come out and see 2 good teams go at each other in that 4-game series.
It would be nice. I'm not as excited about the A's going to Japan as you are from the A's standpoint. It's a lot of travel, a lot of airtime, a lot of jet lag, that kind of stuff. What do you think about that?
Well, you'll know how it affects them if you look into the dugout and Bob Melvin's sleeping, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Right.
The younger guys might be okay. The kids, the younger guys,
right.
but by the time you get there, it's a 13, 14-hour flight from here to Tokyo. Then they got to adjust to that play to. I don't know how many days they're going in advance. They got to go at least 2 or 3 days in advance to get over the jet lag, and then come back. And then 6 days later, they open up against the Angels. I think it puts them at a disadvantage, to tell you the truth. They're really going to be out of whack, and we'll have to see if it affects them. But
they're playing the Angels, and they're in the same division, so you can't lose that much.
Well, the Angels are.
Because the Angels are going to be affected by it as well.
Well, and the Angels have got a new manager, Brad Osmus. Mike Scioscia, after 18 or 19 years, stepped down at the end of the season last year. Currently unemployed, but I don't think he'll be unemployed for long. And Osmus was at Detroit, but he caught Detroit on the way down, and hopefully the Angels will be more competitive this year. Their pitching staff was decimated by injury, just like the A's was last year. But the A's were able to patch it together. The Angels couldn't. But the Angels should be improved, and it should be a more competitive series. I'm looking forward to it. So it should be a natural rivalry between Southern California and Northern California. It really hasn't materialized like the Dodgers and Giants, but I'd like to see it to be that rivalry. Hopefully it will be this year.
Hey, I was doing a show with Peter Golenbach this morning, and we wondered, because we both are ignorant, where is Sonny Gray? Is he still with the Yankees? Has he been dealt, or is there a
Sonny Gray.
Pardon me?
No, Sonny Gray was traded to the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, okay, that's right.
And he's being reunited with his college coach, who's the pitching coach for the Reds. They think that might help salvage the Reds' season and gives a little oomph to the Reds' pitching staff. And of course, the Reds.
Right, and ironically, that's not only that's interesting. His success or failure is interesting. to me, a New Yorker from the standpoint of the Yankees, but I'm wondering whether or not Matt Harvey, former Met, is going to come back and have a good year with Cincinnati. I have a feeling he will.
I think Matt Harvey's with the Angels. I think he left Cincinnati. He's with the Angels.
Oh, okay. Well,
here's
what I'm really wondering: will Ralph Tyko ever catch up with shit?
You got to read the paper.
Well, you got to learn how to read first, Jerry. You know my limitations. Okay. How self-effacing can I be in one podcast? Is there a limit to that, or I don't have to go on? Right? Oh, okay.
Matt Harvey is with the Angels.
Okay. Well, as you may or may not know, I have an affinity for the Angels, dating back to my Tops years, where I was the West Coast representative for Tops, and I covered them in the Northwest League and in the California League for many years, and I got to know a number of folks in their organization that I have good memories about. One of them was a fellow that went on to work in the minor leagues with your Boston Red Sox, and that's a fellow by the name of Tom Kochman. And Tom Kochman manages in the minors for you guys now. He had the most special and unappreciated job in baseball. The managers of teams that are so low that the high school kids and the college kids break in and spend their first year or two under the tutelage of these managers. They go very underappreciated. And Tom Kochman broke in a bevy of California Angels, and for one, and all his coaches and Zeke Zimmerman and those guys, is good meeting with them every year. And I got to meet one of my lifetime friends. I'll tell you about that on another podcast, Jerry. But so talking about pardon?
Guys like Kochman are so necessary for these young kids. A lot of the kids, some of them go into A ball, double A, wherever they're located, or they come from a foreign country. They're away from home for the first time. Maybe not the college kids, but a high school kid or whatever, if the kid gets drafted. And to have someone that helps them, alleviates their fears. You got to remember, when you go into Major League or to the minor league system, whatever it is, getting ready for Major Leagues, the kids are really having to compete against all these different players. And if you're in college or high school, there's a camaraderie on the team. You're playing for the school. You have a purpose. But when you go into the A leagues, the double A, triple A, whatever, you're competing for a job. And all these guys are competing for it. They're not going to help you. You're on your own. And you have to be mentally tough to be able to make it in baseball. You got to perform. You're going to have down times. And when you have a guy like Kochman that helps the kids understand the process, it's invaluable to their learning as they go up the chain and fight their way up.
Absolutely. And, some of the most talented coaches are down there. The major league coaches, it's more on a buddy system. I played ball with this guy, but major league players don't need the coaching that the minor league coaches need. The disparity is unbelievable. A major league coach who is, again, not as key to an organization as I see it, pitching coach notwithstanding, maybe a batting coach, but primarily a pitching coach, these guys make so much more money than the minor league coaches. And that's unfair as far as I can see. But plus they accumulate major league pension time as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little story about a guy who grew up in Oakland. His name was Ray Malgrady. And Ray played minor league ball. And then he became a minor league manager. And he managed in Ballfield, West Virginia. Maybe it was the A-League. And he followed the year before he went there, it was a Dodger affiliate. And this is around 1968, 69. It was a Dodger affiliate. And the manager there was a fellow by the name of Tommy Lasorda. And you know what happened with Lasorda. But anyway.
Yeah, he got big and fat.
Yeah, he ate a lot of pasta along the way.
Oh, other things too, of course.
Yeah, Malgrady was working for the Baltimore system. And he got to know Earl Weaver, became friends with Earl Weaver over the years. Well, Malgrady was I don't know if it was this team, the Ballfield team, but he was in the minor leagues. He was the cook, the bottle washer. He did everything. He drove the team bus from town to town. And, you know, in the minor leagues, the kids go on these rickety old buses. So anyway, they finish a series in one town, and they drive to another town, and they pull into the motel, and the guy says, "Sorry, can't let you guys in." The guy, Malgrady, says, "Why? What's the problem?" He said, "Well, the check from your company bounced, and I need payment. Otherwise, you're not getting in." So Malgrady had to call the team. The team had to get the money there, get everything done. You know, the kids are tired. They want to go to sleep. And it's just the problems of riding the buses in the minor leagues and the problems that they have to put up with. You know, and they go from town to town, long bus rides, and heading into motels that it's not going to be the Hilton. It's not going to be the Ritz-Carlton. It's going to be the dumpster hotel where these kids stay. And they're making next to nothing. I don't know what they make in these days, but they don't make a lot of money in the minor leagues.
No, they don't.
And it's part of the growth process for the kids on their way up to the big leagues if they have the talent. One of my college classmates, his son went to Oregon State and was on the same team with Jacoby Ellsbury when Oregon State won the national championship. And he played in minor league ball. He went to some A club somewhere in the Midwest. And I don't know if he finished the season or whatever, and he suffered for what a lot of young people did. He was homesick, or he missed his girlfriend. That's the biggest reason a lot of players quit. And he said what I said earlier, that the players don't play for the team. They're playing for themselves. And they will cut your throat in order to move up the ladder. And that's the way the competition is in big league baseball. And so when you get to the major leagues, the coaches expect you to have learned the fundamentals of baseball. If you're an outfielder, you have to know what players on which base, what base to throw to. If you're a fielder, you have to have improved your fielding and been on the big league level. But you mentioned coaches, and I want to talk about one coach in particular, and it's Ron Washington, who was with the A's for 10 years, managed the Texas Rangers.
He's one of the exceptions that prove my rule. This guy helped
Marcus
Chavez, the third baseman, win 6 Golden Gloves, and Chavez thought enough of Ron Washington, I almost said Herb, thought enough of Ron Washington to give him one of his Golden Gloves. I thought that was terrific.
And you know what happened? And I think it was Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
Ron was from New Orleans, and he lost his house, so everything. But Major League Baseball replaced the Golden Glove for him.
Yes. That was a nice thing for Major League Baseball. I think it was Rawlings that helped, but
could be. Yeah. And of course, the the neat thing is that Ron won two American League championships with the Texas Rangers in 2010, 2011. And of course, in 2010, the Giants beat him for the World Championship. And unfortunately, in 2011, the Cardinals won Game 6 and 7, and which was the Rangers were on the verge of winning their first World Championship, but it wasn't meant to be. And of course, in 2012, you remember that the A's won the Western Division on the last day of the season. They were not in first place at all. The only day they spent in first place was the last day of the season, and they went to the playoffs. And of course,
yes,
their fortunes changed in 2011 when they fired Bob Guerin and hired another Bob Melvin, who's been with the A's ever since and does a fabulous job for them.
Absolutely. And, if any manager, if I could think of another manager to compare him to, that would be Bochy, who on the other side of the bay just decided that, or they decided for him, I don't know, but maybe it was a mutual decision that this would be his last year.
Well, Bochy is 64 years old. He's been managing in the big leagues for 25 years. I guess he was with San Diego for 12 and with the Giants for 13. He's won 4 pennants, 1 with the Padres, 3 with the Giants, and 3 World Championships. Every manager that has won 3 World Championships is in the Hall of Fame. I have no doubt in my mind that Bruce Bochy has earned his ticket to Cooperstown. None whatsoever. Fabulous job.
Absolutely. He is so tremendous. He's one of those guys that I met 30-some-odd years ago, and boy, it sounds like a long time, but it flies, time flies, doing tops in one of those managerial positions that we talked about with Kochman. He was, I think it was where was it? It was up in Washington. It was Spokane, if I'm not mistaken. And he was in a rookie league with the Padres. And he had a great rapport with the kids. I remember he had a fantasy league going with the kids. And you could see he was a player's manager even back then. And he goes on to this great career. It was a pleasure to have met him and to have seen those guys breaking in as managers. So,
yeah, I got to talk to him a couple of times. When I go over when the A's play the Giants in Italy, I go over to AT. I'm going to say AT&T Park. It's Oracle Park now, but I would go over to AT&T, and I had the pleasure of sitting in a couple of sessions where he was holding court and doing the presser before the game. So that was kind of nice. And he's just been a solid players manager forever and ever. And Ron Darling, who I got to know when he was with the A's back in the 90s.
No, I'm Ralph. Oh, a different Darling.
Ron Darling. He was a pitcher he pitched for the Mets in the '86 World Series against the Red Sox.
Yes, he did. I'm a Met fan and loving it.
Yeah,
loving those memories.
And Ron knew him. He was saying he knew him back in '82. Either played against them or were on the same team. Who knows? In those days. So, and he had a lot of high respect for Bruce Bochy. So I think that for whatever reason, I'm sad to see him retire. If he's going to stay active in baseball as a consultant or with the club doing stuff for them, that'll be great. If he decides to manage somewhere else, that'll be okay too. But Tony La Russa used to say, if you're with a club for more than 10 years, you've outworn your welcome.
Hey, I'll tell you a man who will never outwear his welcome.
Speaking of outwearing their welcome, holy cow, what timing.
Michael Duca joins us. Michael, you don't even know this. This is the first day we're combining the Giants show and the A's show. It's Bay Area sports. We're even going to expand it Beyond Baseball. So welcome to the first edition. We've been waiting for you. Michael Duca, how are you?
Well, let me tell you what's going on here in spring training.
Michael's down in Phoenix.
Yeah, a lot of people are wondering where they sell umbrellas in the Valley of the Sun, and looking for bail buckets. But that's nothing. I just posted a photograph from the city of Pasadena, where I graduated high school. The first recorded snow on the ground in the city of Los Angeles that I can remember in my lifetime.
Whoa!
Really? Wow, that bad.
Malibu.
Did you drive through it today?
I drove 2 days ago. I left the Bay Area, and I drove through a very snowy and lovely Grapevine, but the weather was okay. I had a little overcast, but no weather occurring. It was all just on the ground already. And then yesterday I woke up in the morning, and it was overcast for part of the way out towards the Colorado River. But this was just unexpected. This is not coming from Northern California. It didn't slide down the coast. I don't know where the heck this is coming from, because it's 45 degrees in Phoenix right now.
Wow, that's the coldest I've ever heard at this time of year.
Well, it was 29 this morning, so that was cold.
Woo. Woo. Wow. You got to wear your Snuggies, Michael.
Well,
Now, how is this affecting workouts?
Well, not beneficially. The first scheduled game of the Cactus League, which logically enough was between the Mariners and the A's, who are heading over to Japan in a short while, was canceled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be, well, the first game's tomorrow in Peoria against the Mariners too, and then the A's posted on the I got an email saying that the fans could apply for either go to the game with the ticket from today in Mesa, or apply for a refund, so that there's a redress for the fans.
Right, and in fact, I wouldn't put a lot of money on tomorrow occurring either. We've got a 100% chance of rain through midnight and 80% chance all day tomorrow. So,
wow.
It's not that it's. I mean, and it's a this is not what I'm used to for Arizona rain. Arizona rain it gets ugly and nasty looking, and it'll blitz you for about 30 minutes, and then it goes away. This is not that.
Florida.
This is actual rain, where it's coming down pretty much all day long.
And is it what they call the Pineapple Express coming in from Hawaii on the south side rather than coming down?
Not at 45 degrees. It's the frozen Pineapple Express. It's the Pina Helado.
But it didn't hit the Bay Area. Maybe it just whipped around.
No, you guys are supposed to get something, I think, tomorrow. But it's very odd. This is dry. I mean, there are photographs out there right now of the famous sign in the median at the beginning of the Las Vegas Strip. There's a snowman under it.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Hey, I just posted on Facebook the photograph from Pasadena under the heading "Apocalypse Now."
What must it be like in Palm Springs?
Well, yesterday in Palm Springs, it was the same as it always is, because I saw it at 80 miles an hour out the window.
Okay. Well, you've slowed down.
The wind turbines were turbining.
Yeah. Now that it's windy, you've slowed down. I understand.
Well,
down
a
to
little
80.
bit. I mean, it's more a matter of Ralph. You've seen my car.
Yes, I have, and it's red. It may not attract the cops. May not.
It may not. The thing is that there are not that many places where I can stop and fill the battery up in a reasonable amount of time. So you have to plan your trip very carefully. The GPS system tells you where to stop and how long you'll probably need to be there to help you plan your trip. But as a result, I discovered that driving 80, my 300-mile range goes down to about 235. Driving 75, it's about 250. And driving 72, it's about 270 miles. So it drops off very quickly at speed. Mm-hmm. Plus, we had a lot of wind.
What is the average time of a pit stop?
It depends greatly. For those who haven't figured out yet, I have a Tesla, and the Tesla Supercharger, there's a Tesla Supercharger in Buttonwillow, of all places. Actually, I think it's Kettleman City. That there's one in each, but the one in Kettleman City is a full-on Tesla rest stop. It's the first one in the world. They have a lovely building, restrooms, comfortable chairs to sit in, free Wi-Fi, free coffee, snacks from a vending machine, including sandwiches, and
really?
40 chargers. It's the largest charger setup in the United States. The only one larger is in China. And it all of the spaces are under cover, and the cover that they are under are solar panels.
Oh, wow.
Now, of course, they also have a huge PG&E transformer on site because they have to be able to charge cars at night. But that particular one has a 120 kilowatt service, and I was able to put fill 70% of the battery there in about 45 minutes, Ralph.
Wow.
But the one that I went to today in Scottsdale was in a shopping center parking lot and wasn't nearly as juiced up. It's a 70 kilowatt transformer, and there it would probably take me an hour and a half to do the same.
Wow.
Now, is this all part of the package, or do you pay a little bit for the electricity?
Those of us who bought the Model 3 pay for the electricity. The people who bought the Model S and Model X get it free at the superchargers. But to be honest with you, the electricity is not that expensive. It costs me for electricity about 4 cents a mile to drive the car.
Oh,
that's not bad.
It's about 4 cents a mile for the electricity, about 4 cents a mile.
It's like a surcharge
for the tires. So basically, my driving costs, not counting buying the car, of course, my driving and maintenance costs are about 10 cents a mile.
Well, and maintenance excluded. I'm sure there's some bucks that you pay for that.
Well, you have
but
to.
But it's not on spark. What? It's not on spark plugs or anything.
No. All that you maintain, you rotate the tires every 8,000 miles. You change the brake fluid every 25,000 miles, and you change the battery coolant every 50,000 miles, and you put on new brakes when you need them, which isn't very often because I almost never use the brakes. The car has what's called regenerative braking. So if you take your foot off the gas, it uses the electric motors. They turn backwards and charge the battery, and that slows the car down.
Oh, that's interesting. But don't you have to have lubrication for the moving parts?
Well, when was the last time?
That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
Yeah, when was the last time you had somebody grease your wheel bearings, Jerry?
I don't know. I'd like to have my
wheel
bearings greased as often as I could. But at this age, I've gone rusty.
Yeah. Let's go off the reservation here. There is essentially no moving lubrication issues of which I am aware. My 2003 Acura had no lubrication points. It had no zerks to be greased.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that this one does either. I mean, basically, when they gave me the car, they told me, "Here's your maintenance schedule. 7,500 to 8,000 miles tires, 25,000 miles brake fluid, 50,000 miles battery coolant, and replace the brakes when they've worn out.
No, there you go.
Transmission fluid, did they say anything about that?
There's no transmission.
Okay.
The car has an electric motor that drives the wheels directly. That's it. End of discussion.
What an age we live in. Unreal.
It seems reasonable. I spent my entire life learning how to take care of a car, and now that I finally know how, I don't have to.
And there's nothing you could do or learn to make it better, so you just go with it as let them take care of it.
Yeah, you learn new ways to drive. There are tricks to making sure that you make that energy last as long as you can, because I don't know quite how they do it. Tesla does say that in their included roadside service plan, if you run out of power on the freeway, they will bring you a charge. But they do say that part of the service plan isn't free. We give you every opportunity to figure out how to do this. We tell you right there when I got in the car and the battery was low while I was getting ready to drive to get it charged in the morning yesterday, it basically said you cannot continue your trip without charging, because it knew the next stop was in Arizona.
Oh, this is interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, Michael.
So,
Michael, let's talk some baseball. What are your thoughts?
Well, let me just say, Michael, when you joined us, we were talking about Bruce Bochy, and we're marveling over his career. Is there anything that you could tell our audience about Bruce Bochy that would interest us?
Well, I have a couple of Bochy stories and a factoid. I believe, I'm not positive about this, but I believe that Bruce Bochy has managed longer without being fired than anyone in baseball other than Connie Mack.
Wow. He did leave San Diego voluntarily.
Yep. He's never been fired.
Never been fired.
Never been fired.
Years, never been fired. That's amazing.
Yeah. I wish I could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, who was going to fire Connie Mack?
You own the team, for crying out loud.
You own the team, right? So I think the previous leader in that category in the clubhouse was Walter Alston. I believe he had 18 consecutive one-year contracts and then retired.
Yeah, well, he was there from 54 until 71
or 72.
No, I think Lasorda came in 77. I think he was there to 76. He was there, wasn't he there 20 years?
It seemed to me that it was 18 consecutive. Was the number I remember Vid saying, but I could be very wrong about that. It was a very long time ago.
It was a long time he managed. How about that?
Yeah. He did, and he's still the only major leaguer from Dartown, Ohio.
You know what's ironic about that? The Dodgers had a guy named Charlie Dressen. And Charlie Dressen did very well, but he got a little bit over his skis, and he had his wife demand from the Dodgers, when they were still in Brooklyn, a 2-year contract. The Dodgers said, see you later. And it's amazing how Alston goes all those years with 1-year contracts. And as a Giant fan, I got to tell you, he beat us in so many different eras of ball that you couldn't describe it. He was there when they won their first first World Championship in '55.
Yeah, here's his record, Ralph. He started with him in '54, and his last year was in '76. I think he won 2,040 games and lost 1,613. Not bad.
Not a bad record.
Well, and what most people don't realize is that when Charlie Drilson left, he became an editor at the New York Daily News, where he coined the memorable grammar, "The Giants is dead."
Really? The Giants is dead.
Yeah, yes, and they came back. They heard him in through the clubhouse. The
That's
Giants
right.
did. And their clubhouses were literally back to back, up in the deepest part of center field.
Yep.
And it's amazing how that rivalry was so strong that words alone could inspire hatred, and that really never changed when they moved out.
Well, from what I understood, Ralph, and I never lived there, but you did. You can confirm this. But from what I understood, the only valid reason for Manhattan existing, as far as Brooklynites were concerned, was to hold down one end of the bridge.
I'll tell you something about Brooklynites. There have been people that were born in Brooklyn, went to school in Brooklyn, worked in Brooklyn, got sick and died in a Brooklyn hospital, and never left the borough of Brooklyn. There have been stories documented about folks that literally never left Brooklyn.
I believe that. I've seen a lot of them in the big cemetery there at Greenwood.
Do you remember the movie Somebody Up There Likes Me? The story about Rocky Graziano?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Rocky Graziano. Wasn't he from Brooklyn? Or was he was from New York somewhere. May have been Queens.
Yeah, I think it was the Lower East Side. I don't remember it.
Whatever it was.
From Brooklyn.
I think the first time he went outside of the city of New York was when he went into the military. He had never been out. Yeah. And then I
went from Queens to Brooklyn to enlist in the military.
Uh-huh.
Or was it downtown? It might have been downtown.
Did you need a passport?
Street. Did I need a passport to enlist?
No, to go from Queens to Brooklyn.
No, you didn't. You didn't. You just needed to be well armed in those days. And not really. Things were a lot less wild than stories let out. Yeah.
But Ralph, when you were a kid, and you must have had on your block, and back in New York, the kids used to hang out at the corner, and you'd have
Jack and Manny's.
Yeah, and you had Dodger fans and Giants fans on the same block. And the kids would get into fights over the teams when the testosterone is raging. And it was, and of course in Boston, we were all Yankee haters, but we didn't have any Yankee fans on our street. It was all Red Sox fans. Didn't have that problem.
You're either a Giant fan, a Yankee fan, or a Dodger fan, and you'd have rivalries with your friends, debating rivalries. And basically you turned out that you liked the Giant fans if you were a Giant fan through life. And you disliked the Dodger fans through life. But I'll tell you one funny story. I'm 10 years old in 1955, and the Giants are going to play the Yankees for the World Championship. It's that morning, and I realized that the Giants, who had won it in '54, were still the champions until this game gets played today. And I remember talking to one of my acquaintances from across the street, Neil Silver, who was a Dodger fanatical Dodger fan. He had older brothers who were Dodger fans. And I said, Neil, right now, who are the world champions as we speak right now? And he goes, the Giants are the world champions. I remember those words begrudgingly come out of his mouth, and that was the last day. That was it. Johnny Padres beat Tommy Byrne in the 7th game of the World Series, and they went nuts in Brooklyn, I got to tell you.
We went nuts in Boston too. We were at football practice. We were getting ready for, I forgot the day, but the World Series was done by Columbus Day in those days. So maybe we were getting ready to play somebody on Columbus Day, and we stopped everything and we had transistor radio, and we listened to the 9th inning. And when the Dodgers won, we were all cheering for the Dodgers. We were all Dodger fans that day. But I have to tell you, we also rooted for the Giants anytime they were playing the Yankees in the World Series. In '51, we rooted for the Giants too. So we were.
I had no dog in that. Until that morning, I had no dog in that race, but I was really rooting for Tommy Byrne in that game. Just if I couldn't have it, Neil couldn't have it. That's how I looked at it. And as I look back, I don't remember speaking to Neil Silver after that day.
So, gentlemen, I'm going to act as the GPS here. You asked me to tell you some Bruce Bochy stories. Don't forget to come back to that.
Sure.
Okay. Please.
I think probably my two favorite boat stories. One was of the night as a Padre that he got a game-winning hit in extra innings and went on the post-game show for an interview. And when he came back, his teammates had decided to celebrate this great victory that he provided them by icing down an entire six-pack in his helmet.
His head was that big, huh?
Boch's head is legendary, but that gives you an idea of how large it really was. There was room for a six-pack and ice.
And ice.
Wow.
And the other is really pretty hilarious because it talks about, and Boch told me this himself, one of the most famous brawls in baseball history was the Padres at the Braves in old Fulton County Stadium. And I hesitate to call it a fight. I hesitate to call it a brawl. It was a series. There were three major components to this fight, and it carried on so long that the umpires eventually cleared the benches, put the remaining eligible players in the locker rooms, had the doors barred with 2x4s, and people were only allowed out if they were brought into the game. And as part of that fight, when it first began, Boch was in the bullpen, along with Mark Thurmond and Goose Gossage. I don't know if you know those guys, relatively speaking, but that's three very large humans.
Mm-hmm.
Boch, when he played, he stood tall and erect before catching destroyed his knees, and I think he was like 6'3", Gossage was 6'2", Thurmond was even bigger, and he was burly besides. And the three of them come running out, one pitcher on either side of them, and they're running down the left field line. And as Boch says, when he runs, he doesn't exactly put one foot in front of the other. He runs by swinging his feet in 180-degree semicircles, kind of around himself. And he said he managed to do that in such an astonishing fashion that he tripped both pitchers. All three of them went tumbling to the ground, and by the time they showed up, grass-stained, the fight was over, Greg Nettles looked at him and said, "Where the blank have you guys been?" They literally, as both said, I wasn't fast to begin with, but then I kind of went out and tripped both of them, and we had a little trouble getting up.
That's how he. That's a great imitation too. That's a great imitation. A John Wayne kind of delivery. Bochy.
Yeah, I mean, you listen to him talk, and you immediately go to see what part of the South was he raised in, and you discover he was born in France, raised in Florida, and really not much of the South. It just somehow sort of seemed to creep into his conversation. He has a brother by the name of Joe, who is
really?
a scout. Yeah, he's a scout for the Giants. And Joe comes around in September usually. When they're getting ready to do organizational meetings, I get to see him. And it's hilarious because Joe does not need to wear a credential. You take one look at Joe and you know that he is Boch's younger brother. Looks like him, talks like him, it's just that he's shorter.
So let me ask you both if you care to play Nostradamus. Which direction do you think the Giants will go in to fill the position? Start with you, Michael.
I know who I'd like to see them get, and I know who I think they might take a hard look at, and those are two different people.
Okay, why don't you start with the person you think you'd like to see them get?
I would like to see them talk to Omar Vizquel. Somebody's going to get him. He's a brilliant baseball mind. He's a good communicator. Somebody's going to get him, and he's going to manage for 20 years, just like Tito and just like Dave Roberts is going to. And I would sure as hell like it to be the Giants.
Well, my thoughts are a little bit different. I'd like to see Joe Girardi come in. Hello?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. Joe was a delightfully pleasant man and a good baseball man. I just have this feeling that Farhan Zaidi is going to look for somebody that he can mold. Somebody who hasn't already done it for 2 or 3 teams.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Girardi would cost money. Omar Vizquel will not cost him as much money as Joe Girardi.
No, and the guy that I expect him to talk to, and it would not hurt my feelings if he came here, is Mike Matheny.
That would be a good thought. His
Matheny
career
would be
was
okay.
cut short here. He was doing really well, if I remember correctly, and had the concussion. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took a while for him to get over it. But didn't he have problems with the Cardinals last year? They fired him mid-season.
Well,
there was some issue going on last year. Either the players weren't listening to him, something was going on.
They did, and, I don't have a solid answer to that, Jerry. I'm well aware of that. I think that it's very likely to me that this comes under that general category of you can't fire the team, so you fire the manager.
Exactly.
There's another Mike out there that might want to get a job, is Mike Scioscia, too. He'd be a great National League manager.
He would. Again, I just don't see them going for somebody with 20 years of experience right now. I think that they want to have someone in that chair who is, I don't know how to say this and make it come out politely. I think they want someone who's inexperienced enough that they could mold them into an analytical way of being a manager. I think they're perfectly happy to get somebody with baseball experience. I think they're perfectly happy to get somebody with human relations experience. But I don't know that they want somebody with managing experience, because you tend to pretty rapidly come upon your way of doing things. And I think they want their way of doing things.
Has the name Matt Williams been bantered around?
It's an obvious one to think of. I'm just, honestly, if they're going to look to ex-Giants or people in or around the organization, which I don't think they will do, but if they do, I think you have to look at Hensley Mullins. He was kind of denied opportunities or didn't take opportunities before because he was expecting to be the heir apparent here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also he got fired in Washington, and I don't know why they fired. I think they fired him. There was issues with the team in Washington, and they fired him because he couldn't win with all that talent. So who knows?
It was communication. If you remember correctly, Jonathan Papelbon and Bryce Harper were literally at each other's throats in the dugout, and Matt just looked over and looked at it and looked away and shook his head and let it go. I think that was the straw.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. Would they go to Dusty Baker? Would they come back?
Well, don't hate
him?
to say it. There would be nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that I keep saying I don't see how you can change the direction of the organization to analytics and not change the way it's executed in the dugout.
True, but hasn't he been hired as an advisor to someone?
Oh, yes. He is an advisor to Larry and to Brian Sabian, and he's doing talent evaluation. No, he's part of the organization, just like Bam Bam, just like
Felipe too.
Ron Wotus. All of those guys are there. But my point is simply, if you put Saeed in charge, I mean, just close your eyes and imagine for a moment anyone sitting down across the desk from Dusty and saying, "Hey, I'm going to make out your lineup card today."
Not going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
You might get about 3 or 4 names in before he hands you the uniform.
All right. Hey, guys, this has been a terrific first edition of Bay Area Sports, where we combine the A's show, the Giants show, get the two greatest podcasters together. And you have to remember, we're going to be adding Nancy Finley to the group as well. And this is going to be fun. It's a great way to go. So
I do have, Ralph, before you wrap us up, I have one question for Jerry. Jerry, are you aware of the news out of Clearwater today?
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that, and I am so upset. I tried to talk to Nick when they came into town, when the Red Sox were coming town, and say hello to him, and I'm just heartbroken at the news. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been a very rough week. We in the Bay Area also lost one of our own just a few days ago. Bo Chapman, who did TV stats and supported the Red Sox among other visiting clubs that came in, was tragically killed in a car accident over the weekend.
Just
Bo
sad.
was only 35 years old. And
brutal.
Just an awful loss for our community. Not someone that the fans know of, but believe me, someone who has touched every one of them if they've enjoyed a Warriors radio broadcast or a Pac-12 broadcast or almost any baseball broadcast. Was those of us in that profession doing talent stats for TV are very quiet and behind the scenes. We never want to be seen on TV. We never want to be discussed. But we are very, very dedicated to our craft and our profession.
Wow.
And we're very dedicated to our craft and profession of making the talent look great and keeping the people at home interested in tuning in. He will be sorely missed.
Yeah, it's a lot of sadness this week. We lost Don Newcomb, the great Dodger pitcher. We lost Bo Chapman, and today we lost Nick Cafardo. And I enjoyed watching Nick on when they did the MLB roundabout. They flipped from stadium to stadium. Our friend Susan Slusser has been on that many times, and Nick was great. He took over. He really was a younger Peter Gammons. He just knew the Red Sox inside and out. And of course, they had the wonderful year last year, and it's just sad, just to have it happen so suddenly the way it did. There's not much you can say. Just say rest in peace, Nick. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
None of us are all that big on mortality. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, all of us are on the wrong side of the curve. Let's put it that way. But we're still on the right side of the lawn.
And that's why, Michael. And that's why, Michael, we will meet in Alameda for another lunch at Nations once the season starts.
Well, I cherish you guys, and honestly, these losses just remind me to appreciate the people that I have, the relationships that I have, and you guys definitely are among those.
Oh.
And we will see you on March 28th, if not sooner, when the A's open the season against the Angels.
You will. You're not going to believe what I'm going to do. I have to drive home. I have a day game here on the west side of the valley. I'll drive to L.A. that night and then get up at the crack of dawn and drive to San Jose the next day to do TV stats for the Detroit Red Wings.
Wow. Hockey town comes with.
Well, and do it while balancing my charging levels, Ralph.
Yeah, right.
I was going to ask you, but that gives your mind a little chance to work out. That's not a bad thing.
No, it's good. I enjoy it, and I enjoy working with you guys. I will see you next time.
Thank you both. Maiden edition of Bay Area Sports. I'm Ralph Tyko, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-hosts are Michael Duca and Jerry Feitelberg. Thank you both, gentlemen. Thank you all for listening. Adios.
Bye now.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.